Hello everyone, I'm calling this one Between the Rock and Hard Place number 2, further down the rabbit hole. So I've got an opportunity to give you an update how things are going with my mum. So first thing you notice, I'm in Sidmouth in her flat, and just before I went away just a couple of weeks ago, she was admitted to a nursing home, and she spent a week there, and she's been admitted to another one, and it's been a harrowing experience, the whole thing. And I've been to visit her quite a few times in the nursing home since I come back. So we're on Tuesday morning now, and I arrived here Saturday evening, went in to visit her 3 times on Sunday to get as good an impression I can of how things are for her. And they are much worse than they were before. And it turns out, and only by asking questions did I discover this, so I guess the main thing I want to say at this point is, why am I making this film? Why am I making a series of films about someone of an advanced age, having health problems, being cared for by family, then being admitted to a nursing home? Well, I'm doing this because this is something that is affecting more and more people, and in the West we've got the demographic that what is happening is the number of people of advanced age is just increasing massively, and in fact the numbers of people of a young age is decreasing. So that's going on. So I'm just at the early point of what's becoming a much bigger picture. So this is going to be affecting massive numbers of people in the West. So that's why I'm speaking about it, because if it doesn't affect you now, chances are it will do. So let's get in there and get some understanding. So I feel like I need to go into the drug regime that my mum was on, and that's how I found her. So she was on cocodamol, which is codeine and paracetamol, and she was also on gabapentin, and that's specifically for neuropathic pain. And she was on laxatives to deal with the side effects of the codeine, and I managed to get onto CBD oil and a variety of healthy supplements, and also St. John's wort oil to apply directly to her skin. And her skin did look like it had been severely burnt. That's what shingles looked like in her case. So imagine my surprise when asking the nursing home staff various questions about what was going on, how she was, what was happening. They let slip that she'd been put on the new drug. This is actually the drug she was put on when she was very first originally phoned up with shingles, and it's called amitriptyline. Now I know of amitriptyline as a good old-fashioned antidepressant. It's not modern, it's been around for quite a while, and I was very shocked to discover it's being used for neuropathic pain. I didn't know that was even an option. Now, I've never been keen on this drug. Antidepressants are particularly bad news, and as people know, when I've been working with clients on retreats, if they're interested in working with what we call a brown medicine, they can't even do that if they're on antidepressants. It's a complete no-no. And I've got a real thing about antidepressants because it's all about refusing to face up to actually aspects of how life is. So here I am dealing with some really unpleasant aspects of how life is. So I found that my mum is on amitriptyline. Now when she was on it at the beginning of the shingles, she had some really bad side effects, and no surprise at all, these really bad side effects had come back. So when I went to visit her Sunday, morning, afternoon and evening, each time she was in bed, and she was very sleepy, drowsy, and that's one of the primary symptoms of the amitriptyline, is it causes a person to become detached from everyday life, to have no energy for anything, to sleep a lot, to become very confused, for any memory issues to become much more exacerbated, and in fact, to put it bluntly, the quality of her life had gone right down the toilet, and that's the state she's been in. So I found this out the day after I arrived on the Sunday, and yesterday I took her along to the GP. Now, in this country you have to tread incredibly carefully with GPs. GPs have got massive egos. They've got a 7-year training in what I like to regard as arrogance. That's one of the aspects of the medical training. And arrogance I define as I know better than other people. So I needed to be very careful in handling this guy. And in fact, what I did when I went in with Joyce is I didn't actually say anything, but let the whole conversation emerge between doctor and patient. And that was a really right thing to do, and I waited patiently until there came a certain point when he asked me if there was anything I'd like to say. So I then described her being put on amitriptyline a few weeks ago, how it affected her, how she'd been put on it by him recently, how it was affecting her, how it was exactly the same as before, how quality of life right down the toilet. What would you advise? That's the way to play it with these people. You don't tell them what to do. You don't give them any indication you might have opinions. What you do is you ask them. So, slightly sheepish look on his face when he hears all this. I think we'd better get you off that straight away. Sigh of relief for me. So I've gone from my mum being on too many pharmaceutical drugs plus what is known in the nursing profession as a dirty drug. So amitriptyline is known as a dirty drug. It's vile. It causes severe diminution in quality of life and turns people into, let's be slightly melodramatic, a zombie, more or less. So I've got her off the zombie drug yesterday. So hey, big achievement. It's a start, isn't it? So that's the first bit. Then the second bit of nonsense I have to share with you is that she spent a week in one nursing home. They were fine for her to have the alternatives. Moved her into this nursing home. Oh no, not allowed to any alternatives, no. And in fact the GP made it clear he was not happy with her being on CBD oil. I doubt if he knows anything about it, frankly. I'd be surprised if he does. Doubt if he has much clinical experience of working with it. But regardless, that's what he did. So therefore, the nursing staff decided, based on what he said, that he wasn't keen, that what they would do about the CBD oil is to follow his exact words. I don't recommend she should have this, is his exact words, but if she asks for it, fair enough. Now, that sounds alright, doesn't it, in theory, if we're talking about a person who's clear in their mind and not being drugged up by pharmaceuticals. But actually my mum is in such a state, she's pretty much zombified from the cocodamol, the gabapentin and the bloody amitriptyline, so she wasn't in a position to be able to ask for anything coherently at all. And in fact, when she was in the doctor's and he asked her how she was and where she was, she said she was at home because that's where she wanted to be. So I realised this guy wasn't even getting the basic information, because she was off with the fairies because she was drugged up the eyeballs with pharma drugs. So yeah, you can tell I'm not too happy about this, can't you? So I've been in negotiation with the home to get the natural medicines and the CBD oil back into my possession. Been at this for 2 days now. Well, this afternoon, if all works out, finally I'll be given those things that I paid for, that they have no business to be holding on to, and then I can give Joyce the option of having the CBD oil again. And I remember how it was. She had a dose of CBD oil, she was able to communicate and be somewhat functional for maybe 20 to 30 minutes, then a really strong deep sleep, and I could feel the quality of the sleep was far superior to normal. And that lasted about a couple of hours, and after she got up and she became very active and productive and was able to do stuff. So that's what I'm looking forward to. So I was very pleased when I went back to the nursing home with her from the GP, and I told them that the GP said no more amitriptyline and he will be phoning you to let you know. And they said, well, even if he doesn't phone, we'll take her off that straight away. So big sigh of relief all round. That's a huge step in the right direction. Off the dirty drug, still on the other drugs which I'm not too happy about, and that's going to be the subject of my next film. So yeah, that's it for this one, and I'll keep you updated how things are. I'm obviously in a state of great distress because my mother has been given a whole load of really toxic drugs, and I've been watching the effect on her. You can imagine how that could cause me to feel. I mean, to be honest, it produces such a big raft of feelings. I don't even have the words to describe it all, but shall I just say horrific? That's probably the best way to describe this. And I'm grateful because I've got the background in science and medicine. I've worked in hospital pathology labs in medical pathology. I've even worked in geriatric hospitals on the wards as a nursing auxiliary, that's like a nurse's assistant, a long time ago. I've got a bit of background, and thank God my daughter Selena is a practicing nurse and trained to be a nurse, so without all this expertise I wouldn't have known any of this. And I guess that's my point. So if you've got someone, an elderly relative in a care home or not, but they're on any pharmaceutical drugs, what I suggest you do is don't take anything at face value. Do your research, find out the name of the drugs, and then go online and find out what these drugs are about. Do your research and take action when you feel that this person you love is being abused by pharmaceutical drugs. Do it. Cheers.